Hello everyone, I'm Rishi Persad and welcome back to Racing Weekly, a podcast and YouTube show brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. Lots to look back on from the July meeting at Newmarket, and I'm going to do that in the company of Sam Turner, who is always here as usual in his position far left, but a special guest today. Someone who has been part of the racing fabric for a very long time, but also someone who has dipped his toe into other sports, Olympics, World Swimming Championships, West Ham, following your own team, commentating on them.
Where'd you put the trophy, Rish?
Hang on, someone's going to bring it in over there. John Hunt, whose voice has been commentating on the racecourse now for as long as I can remember and doing it brilliantly. John, lovely to have you here today.
Thank you for inviting me, Rishi. It's nice to be here. And nice to have such a great week to look back on as well, because I didn't expect this July week at Newmarket to be so full of great stories and great performances. It just blew me away this week, and I think it's been the meeting of the year so far by miles, and I include Royal Ascot in that.
Wow, what a call.
Strong start.
I like that. I like that. You've come out on the
there's no
front
point
foot
coming
already.
in
It's cost a long run there, John, hasn't it?
Exactly, I'm going for sixes all the way through, man.
Yeah, hunting ball. Baz ball, hunt ball.
What amazed me was, yes, I think everybody's enthusiasm for the meeting was right up there, but considering the weather was so dreadful that one day, I still think there were some brilliant performances, as John alluded to. You know, some of the 2-year-olds that we saw over the weekend, exceptional, and some real great headline stories as well.
Yeah. Big news in so many respects over the last week. Racing, obviously, but Sam, I hope you don't mind us just picking up on the news that in your role as Robin Goodfellow, it is coming to an end.
I'm not sure that's big news, Rish. It might be for my family, but nobody else is really that bothered.
This is your family as well?
Yeah, I know, my racing family. Yes, Rish, time has come. Almost like Novak, other than being a great champion. I think time catches up with all of us occasionally, and the intensity probably isn't there as it was a couple of years ago, so I think it's probably the right time to look for a different challenge.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to be an editor for a magazine in Dubai. The Dubai Racing Club run a magazine out there called Adiat Racing Plus, and they've got a website and social media presence and all that, and they want to try and take that up to another level. So hopefully I'll be able to employ some writers to do that. It won't be me doing it, that's for sure.
Well, at least you'll be still part of racing and still be heavily involved.
Yeah, I think that the sort of the day-to-day grind of the mundane has probably, contributed to me losing what hair I had, and the rest of it's gone grey. So I'm looking forward to sort of concentrating on some quality stuff, really.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing it, Sam?
Nearly 17 years as Robin Goodfellow. Yeah, I know, it's been a long old shift. Seen a few changes, and I think the game was easier 17 years ago than it is now. I think it's tough for anybody coming into it now with the volume of racing. There had been, I think, Sunday racing, but I didn't think there was the extent of the night racing wasn't quite as, it's really become a massive part of the game in recent times, and keeping on top of that's difficult through the summer.
And I suppose the thing for you over the 17 years would have been the battle to hold your position in the face of increasing competition from other sports and the shrinking of the space for racing.
Well, the problem is as well, is with so much racing, we then, at the Daily Mail, thankfully, we've carried every race card. Other papers have chosen to go another way and just be selective what they've carried, but we've carried on carrying every card. But obviously that then shrinks down the space for nice copy, So Marcus Townend has found his role, reducing, and although we've bought out the app and Mail Plus and things like that, where we can put loads of stuff and innovative stories and features onto those, actually getting them into the newspaper is really difficult, and this was the whole point. People used to say, we want all these meetings, we want this, we want that, but I say, well, yeah, you can have them, but you're just going to get 2 pages of data with a little strip down the side with a bit of editorial. You're not going to get anything else. You're not going to get any good pictures, you're not going to get any features, because these newspapers have only got so many pages of sport that they're afforded on a daily basis. Football is the main thing, as we all know, and then when you have things like the Ashes, Wimbledon, the golf, they all eat into the space that racing has, unfortunately. We found that a little bit in Royal Ascot, that we probably didn't get the space that we would have liked to cover such a brilliant meeting. And certainly last week, I would say that the July meeting got next to nothing regarding column inches, for previews and also for reviews as well.
Extraordinary. And the battle will continue, no doubt. But we wish you the very best
Thank you very
in
much.
your endeavours in the future.
They're getting a good man, Rishi, aren't they?
They are getting a good man. Well, hopefully...
Hopefully my golf will improve.
hopefully he gets a new set of sticks, take them out to Dubai. He'll come back a scratch golfer.
Yeah.
Seniors Tour one day. John, though, if I could start with a little bit about your background and how you got involved in racing and how you became a commentator.
Pure fluke, really. Absolutely pure fluke. God, you're going back a long time now, but yeah. So I was. Some people know, some people don't. But I was in the police force for 4 years here in the Met, and my wife saw an advert for a trainee broadcaster. They didn't require any experience. They just required someone to give it a go and work hard.
Still the case now, by the way.
Yeah. Shout loudly.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was a bit of a dilemma. I thought, I fancy. I was only in my early 20s still, and my wife saw the advert. She said, "You should go for that. You'd love that." And I thought, I would. Yeah, but so anyway, I was a bit conflicted. Went to see my chief inspector, a great old man called Alan Bertram, who's sadly dead now, but he was a great guy. And he said, "Look, give it a whirl. If it doesn't work out, come back." So in a world where we like to take a few gambles, that was a gamble that you could not take.
Shot to nothing.
Yeah. So shot to nothing. So I was at Snaresbrook Crown Court giving dodgy evidence on the Friday before.
Don't say that.
And the Monday started Royal Ascot Week at Ladbrokes doing some match.
What year was that?
That would have been 89.
Wow.
Summer of 89.
A great put for your wife though, you've got a 4-year career with the Met and a solid wage coming in, but it must have been your dream then really to go and chase something like that.
I think she realised that, definitely, probably more than I did in a strange sort of way, isn't it? So it was good, and that went fine. I loved that time there, and then in 92 got one of the new commentator jobs that came through SIS. And started at the same time as Richard Hoyles, and happily got one of those roles.
Some crop.
Two of the best. Yeah, that was a good.
It was great. It all been great fun, hasn't it? I mean, you know what it's like. I mean, there's headaches with the roles we have, but most of the time it's a joy, isn't it?
And you've had the opportunity to do other things as well. How did that all come about?
Yeah, well, again, pure fluke, really. So. Goodness me, the association with the BBC, Radio 5 in particular, all born out of luck, really. I was on a ferry going across to Oban in Scotland, having done air, and I was bobbing along there, and Cornelius Lycett rang and said, we need a commentator, do you fancy it? And I said, well, give me 5 or 6 seconds to have a think about it. And so that was fantastic, and I'm still there now. They're great, and they've been so good with me. They've let me do all sorts of other things as well. Like you say, within other sports, we've got the World Swimming Championships starting this Friday, so
you'll be doing.
Yeah, we're doing that, doing everyday coverage of that 8 days. Well, sadly, we can't go to Japan. Budgetary restraints and stuff like that, but we're still going to be doing it, and covering it in detail. So I'm really looking forward to it. I love that. When they first asked me to do that, after the London Olympics, the year after, they needed a new swimming commentator, and I thought, I'm thinking, not really. No, I don't fancy this
because
I just didn't have any idea, didn't have any clue about
it's never
swimming
stopped
at
me,
all.
John.
No, I was just about to jump in there.
But the funny thing was,
ahead of Sam.
Jo was the boss then, and she said, first gig will be a couple of weeks in Barcelona. And I thought, swimming's all of a sudden looking a lot cool. And it turned out, it's like so many things, isn't it? You give stuff a go in life. And I've been working with Karen Pickering and Steve Parry, not just great swimmers in their time, but brilliant people as well. Such great fun. Yeah. The old adage, work hard, play hard, and stuff like that. They're the epitome of that. And and it's been a joy ever since. So I would hate to give it up now.
And you've been a lifelong West Ham fan.
Yeah.
And you've had the opportunity to commentate.
Yeah.
On your own team.
Yeah, that's right. I've done that a few times. Yeah, and they were so good as well with me at the Beeb. They even let me do a match of the day game a few years ago on the Hammers. In the FA Cup. This is the sort of day where they need to call in everybody, all hands on the bump. And but that was fantastic fun. I did a game. I did a West Ham game last year, lost, funnily enough, against Brentford. That didn't happen very often last year. But no, listen, it's so fortunate, so lucky to be able to do that sort of thing.
Indeed. We are very lucky to do what we do. Anybody caught, I'm assuming you caught the final yesterday at Alcaraz?
Yeah.
One for the ages, wasn't it?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Raspball.
How was your fortnight in general? Did you?
Oh,
was it as good as ever?
Yeah, as you say, you're just lucky, and you're kind of pinching yourself doing some of the things you do and working with some of the people you get to meet and chat to. There was one moment where interviewing Andy Murray on court, and then Roger Federer was in the royal box, sort of being the conduit for two of the greatest sports or tennis players of the last 20 years. That was a bit surreal. I walked off court thinking, I can't believe that was actually me doing it. So very lucky. But yeah, that was some final though.
Yeah, it was one for the ages, wasn't it?
Think Djokovic's the era's come to an end, or?
I'd never write him off.
I'm not writing. I think he'll win again. He won another Grand Slam.
But that lad, I mean, to do what he's done off, very little experience of grass was absolutely incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah. Djokovic said as much, didn't he? I got you nailed on other surfaces, and I thought, I'm going to do you here. But he accepted that took Djokovic a little bit by surprise, didn't it?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Long time since I've seen such an athletic. I mean, and we've been treated in the last 20 years to athletes, haven't we? With Murray, Federer, Nadal, etc. But someone as quick as him with an all-round game who can volley, it's just unbelievable, isn't he?
Yeah,
terrific
and
player.
Audacity as well. Some of the drop shots that he produced.
Well, it is Raspball, isn't it? He just doesn't care, does he? Play 2 drop shots in that vital game.
And with the women's final as well. I mean, did you make Ons Jabeur cry again? Did she do that herself?
His presence.
I mean, I probably made a lot of people cry.
I felt so sorry for her.
She's a new Jan and a Botner, isn't she?
That was tough. 2 in a row. Two defeats in a row in the final. That was tough on her.
But you could see it coming from a long way out. Her body language she just wasn't at the races, was she, for whatever reason?
Yeah.
It's just horrible, isn't it?
You know what people will say? This is a racing podcast.
Absolutely, and they have done. So let's crack on.
Good to get all that info, because it's actually quite interesting to find out some of the info that we've furnished our listeners with, our viewers. But it's time for us now to have a look at all the action in the last week in Racing Recap. As you heard a few moments ago, John Hunt believes that the July Festival at Newmarket, the best one of the season so far on the flat, surpassing Royal Ascot. Let's kick off with the headline story then, John. Shaquille, the winner of the July Cup, I think, obviously established as the king of sprinters now this season. What did you make of it?
I absolutely loved it. I've loved his burgeoning story, every aspect of it. Horse, we see on the racetrack, bit of a nutcase, big tick for me, like that. Julie Camacho and husband Steve, unassuming, hard-working, very talented yard, having Group 1 success again 3 weeks after Ascot. Massive tick. Ross Orion in for the first time, giving it an amazing ride, really. At halfway, we commentated on it, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? Yeah. He pulls it off. Massive tick. I just think it's such a great story, I mean, it's funny, we deal with the horse first, maybe. I mean, Julie Camacho has always said, at home, he's an absolute pussycat. Just no problem
a gentleman,
at all. Yeah. But just he gets on the track and he does some strange things. And when he blew the start, Sam, on Saturday, I thought, well, here we go again.
Yeah, and it's not just blowing the start and giving away 2, 3, 4 lengths in a Group 1, which is going to be run at a good pace. It's the way that he then just goes, what does he do? 10.7 and 10.64 for the second and third furlong. Now, he just runs his races the wrong way round, doesn't he, really? But he's still got enough quality and enough about him, enough presence to go and win very decisively from, okay, there's 1 or 2 that perhaps, didn't produce what you thought they might produce, but he handicaps himself, really. He said, go on, then you're going to have 2 or 3 length start and then going to make up, that ground in the worst possible position or the worst possible time in the race, and I'm still going to beat you by a length and a half, under a different rider. I'm going to do exactly the same things, exactly the same traits, and display the same characteristics as I did it at Ascot and still stuff you all.
Yeah.
What I'll ask though is that, can you do that through an entire season, get away with it all the time? Is he that good that he'll do that again? So possibly the Maurice de Geese next, or the Sprint Cup. The Sprint Cup, he's 6-4 with Bet365. Kinross 6s, Sacred 8s. Do you think he can continue to do what he's doing?
Yeah, I don't see why not, Rishi. I really don't. I keep coming back to this idea that he's something about the racetrack experience makes him do these strange things at the start.
It's probably stalls, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
he wouldn't go in them at home
Yeah.
very often. I wouldn't think. They'd probably tried him once or twice in them. He's played up, and they thought, well, we'll just have to take our medicine on the track. So it's probably the sight of the stalls, isn't it?
What do you think was more extraordinary, the Ascot win having lost so much ground at the start, or the Newmarket win having made his mid-race move in the sensational fashion that he did?
I think beating his elders 3 weeks after a massive performance at Ascot is even more meritorious, I thought, on Saturday.
Yeah, agreed. I'd say the latter performance was
And
outstanding.
I'm so pleased for Julie and Steve as well, because the two of my favourite sprinters up until now weren't quite top level, but McEnroe
Judicial.
and Judicial, of course. What a great old lad, still going 8-9.
Yeah.
You know? What they've done with those two is extraordinary. But so to now have this top level elite performer in their yard I think it's great for them.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of it as a story. I think it's not just for racing fans. It's a lovely story, but it's one of those. We talked at the top, didn't we, about racing, fighting for a bit of space.
Yeah.
This is a nice story to tell to the wider world, isn't it?
Exactly. It's not an Aidan O'Brien winning it. It's not, and it's nice as well to see the north-south divide getting levelled up a little bit. I mean, you soft southern softies, you perhaps won't appreciate as much as me, Midlanders and above. But you've got John Quinn with Highfield Princess last year, Carl Burke's doing great things this year and had last year as well, and obviously Julie and Steve as well. It's just brilliant just to see it all levelling up a little bit.
Yeah, and more names that are not normally in the headlines, and we'll come to some of them in a little bit. But always there is a spectre of the big guns, and Aidan O'Brien unleashed City of Troy in Britain for the first time, having had only one start prior and won well. But it's possible that we're going to have another horse that we'll be talking about with the superlative sprinkled over him. He is, after winning the superlative, the Bet365 superlative, he's now 3-1 favourite for the 2,000 guineas with Bet365 and 4-1 for the Derby. First of all, what did you make of the race? And secondly, what do you make of those prices?
Well, the prices are the prices, aren't they? I mean, what price would you want to go about and win it? I understand people don't want to tie up their money for that length of time, and it wouldn't be for me either. But you can't really knock bookmakers for not being tremendously impressed. We were all tremendously impressed. You look at the data, the 3 furlong split, 35.63, and Shaquille did 35.48, 0.15 of a second. Slower over the last 3 furlongs, despite having nothing to race with, despite racing over a furlong further, and despite being a 2-year-old in his second start. I mean, it's incredible. And the early gallop was solid as well. It was just a wow-wee performance, wasn't it?
Performance, wasn't it?
I instinctively, I don't know if you guys are the same, when someone or a group of people keep telling you that something is absolutely magnificent, I'm thinking I'm going to find a way to say this is not magnificent at all. I sort of instinctively want to rail against that, but there was nothing in that beautiful performance that would make you want to do that at all. It was, every single thing about it was amazing. When you think as well that Ryan Moore got off and said, look, obviously there was a lot of rain at Newmarket that week. He's going to be way better on better ground as well. And the fact for the second is 2 runs, 2 wins, and each time, once at the Curragh and at Newmarket, he carried on through the line so strongly you could barely pull him up on either occasion. Yeah, just really, really good. Can I throw the cat amongst the pigeons though? I've not heard any chat about this, but of course he's by Justify, second season style. Well, I mean, the only thing that would stop me taking the 3s for the Guineas now is if they think that they might have a Kentucky Derby horse on their hands next year.
That's a bold call.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they tried it with Mendelssohn a few years ago,
Yes.
and it went horribly wrong because that horse didn't start very well and got smashed at the start. And it was interesting to see, at Newmarket this week, how well away out of the gates City of Troy was as well. And I just think,
Commercially.
yeah,
Without wanting to be too cynical, but commercially, that's quite a call, isn't it? I mean, were he to... Do you think they'd have a sighter this year in the Breeders' Cup?
I would have thought the Breeders' Cup would be an absolute certainty. Yeah, and
On dirt?
And possibly.
Yeah.
And then
Dewhurst then...
yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, but they think outside the box,
Yeah,
don't
of course they do.
I mean,
exactly.
obviously
Galileo
they do
ran in
make,
the Classic.
yeah, they do make very sound commercial decisions as well, but they're not scared to campaign them, are they?
I mean, what I'd say to that, if I was in their team, I'd be saying, well, you need to see what else we've got, because what we wouldn't want to do would be burn the opportunity to clean up all the races if we don't have anything. But it's possible they'll unearth 2 or 3 more.
A river tiber as well, aren't they?
Yeah, and they might have. Well, I mean, it would be fascinating, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and what a week for Justify as well with Joelle in France.
Yeah, she looks special.
She's amazing, isn't she? So,
she looks special.
I just love to get inside their heads, really. And
the lads.
The lads.
Would you like to be a lad? Would you be one of the lads?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Do you get invited?
You come from the right part of the world, don't you? Down that East End of London.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Me and Michael are really tight.
Yeah. Share a jelly deal, do you?
Yeah. On the canal side in Hackney Wick, definitely. But no, I'm just intrigued with. I mean, obviously they are constantly looking to see improvement and innovation within their breeding strategy, aren't they? With Deep Impact coming to a big.
They have had to think outside the box when it comes to stallions, because obviously Galileo, purchase of Wootton Bassett, Justify from America. Deep Impact, obviously, they're using more. They've used more. So they have had to think about how they're going to replace Galileo.
But I can't believe that the lads feel that having had one crack at the Kentucky Derby would be enough to sate their appetite.
Yeah.
If you're going to give it once, that they're going to, surely that's a little itch they want to keep scratching.
But like you say, they can have a good little look-see, can't they? They've brought him over quite early in his career as well, which will have brought him on sort of education-wise and mentally, that he's travelled already, so they've just seen how he's coped with that, and it was not a low-key, but the superlative wouldn't be one of the pivotal 2-year races of the year just yet. We're building into those. So they've had a little bit of a look just to see whether he can mentally cope with it. He obviously did. Brilliantly.
It's probably nonsense really on my behalf, but there's a little nag away in my head thinking, could they possibly do it? If they go for it and it goes wrong, does that completely wipe out any further commercial strength that horse will carry going forward? Well, if it goes completely wrong,
it is quite possible to head to the Kentucky Derby, get beaten, come back and win the Derby.
Well, there's time, isn't there? That would be something else, wouldn't it?
That's happened. Did Dr. Devious do that? Who was it? Bold Arrangement, sorry, did it first, didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't Dr. Devious go to America? Did he not?
I can't remember
off the top of my head.
I'm sure he went to America afterwards, but I don't know whether he went before. He might have done.
Well, maybe I'm dreaming it. Maybe I'm dreaming it. But
is the 2,000 Guineas still such an important race for breeders that they can't afford to miss that opportunity either? I don't know.
Unless, of course, he's a Triple Crown horse. And that could be the other thing they want to play.
Dr. Davis did indeed go to Churchill Downs. Well done. Well done.
Dragged that out of somewhere. Yeah. But quite exciting. And it is something that, with Justify as one of the stallions they use, it's something that you can certainly keep in the back of your mind. That they've got a sire who was a Triple Crown winner on the dirt, so who knows?
Justify, from memory, he was very versatile horse, wasn't he? Distance and ground-wise. He won on everything.
And also he didn't start till... He came on the scene. He came on the scene late, relatively. Really exciting.
What a lovely horse. As I say, I was desperate to try and find something to knock him with, but I can't find a thing.
I liked his attitude. I like the fact in the race he's very amenable to what's going on and doesn't cause any issues. So
and
exciting.
Small things, Rich, as well. When Ryan got off him, years ago I was chatting to Carl Llewellyn about how jockeys bond with horses, and he goes, it's very, very few you really care about. With all respect to them, you're a working team, aren't you? And you do your work and you go your separate ways. But Ryan was like, he looked quite sentimental, I thought, when he got off that horse. Just little things, little mannerisms, tiny little stroke, rubbing the ears and stuff. I thought that was a really very special moment.
I get that I think Ryan possibly is just changing anyway, personally, watching him.
Do you?
And I just think he's becoming a little bit more, I don't know, maybe a bit more relaxed in what he's doing. Obviously, he's been with the Coolmore Ballydoyle team for a long time, and there is a certain way that you've got to be in terms of what you say. But I suspect he's so relaxed into it now, and I think he's riding the best he's ever ridden in his whole career. And I think there's something about him that, certainly observing him this year, suggests that he is just
you get more out of him than most as well, though, Rish.
Well, I think he's actually talking to everybody. I mean, he did a great interview with our pal Johnny Ward, which he was really lucid and quite happy to share as much information as possible. And then there were certain things. I mean, the one I did with him at Royal Ascot after Warm Heart won the Ribblesdale, and Hazel who led up Warm Heart, Pat Keating, just as I was about to do the interview, he tugged me on my shirt and he said, just so you know, she's going to be retiring at the end of the year. So as I did the interview with Ryan about Warm Heart, and I'm walking back in with Hazel, and I said, oh, thank you, Ryan, but a little birdie tells me that Hazel is about to retire at the end of this season. Is this true? And she said, yes, I'm retiring, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, why would you want to retire? She said, because, you know, we all get old, blah. So then I turned to Ryan, who I hadn't told him that this was happening. And I said, Ryan, just give us a little idea what sort of part that Hazel's played in the team, whatever. He goes, Hazel led up my first ever winner for Aiden on Beethoven in the Dewhurst.
Wow.
Wow.
And she didn't know that. She then turned to Ryan, she snapped a look round at Ryan, and she was like, I didn't know that. And he went, yep, you did. I'll never forget that.
How nice.
It's just the, you know, little snapshots now you're getting of just, you know, the fact he's a nice guy.
Brilliant, he remembers that as well.
Yeah.
You know, isn't it? I know life evolves and moves on, and he's been doing the job for longer than you probably give him credit.
Exactly, yeah. Anyway, we should probably move on rather than just keep
doing a
eulogising
speech for you. This is it. Right, more anecdotes. Go on.
Nashwa in the Falmouth. So, I must admit, for a start, I wasn't sure what she was doing in the race, having had that run at Newcastle.
Neither were owners.
Yeah, and then bang.
If you read the quotes, John.
Is that right?
Well, yeah, I think Teddy Grimthorpe asked John Gosden if he'd been smoking something because he was suggested the race and then wanted a supplement. And he said, really, are you sure? But they went with it, and crikey,
Bolted up.
One of the best mile performances of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't really believe it.
No.
Really. I just delighted to see it. But yeah, it wasn't just Newcastle, was it? It's been every step of the way, really, since the Nassau last year.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, should we be questioning? Should we be saying, do we really believe what we've seen?
Well, what do you think?
Sure.
Remarque, I thought, ran really well behind Tahira Asker, and obviously her first win, first time up the season, bummed out in the Guineas, but I think she's a good filly.
Yeah.
Remarque.
Yeah.
And I thought she ran her race. I mean, she's come there travelling, gone past everything else, but couldn't cope with Nashwa.
Yeah. Again, how good was it for the sport that both she and Holly are back in business as well? Especially given Holly's wretched early part of the year with her elbow injury and stuff like that as well. I mean, it was just, we talked about what we do and who we work for as well, but, so she wins, and I had 5 Live on, saying, can you come and talk about it that evening, and so, absolutely delighted to do so, but if Remarque had won 5 lengths, I wouldn't have got that call, I don't think.
No, it's going to be a good duel, isn't it, in the Nassau?
She's 3-1 second favourite. The favourite is
Blue Rose Sen, who looks an extraordinary filly, and everything to suggest that France have probably got the best middle distance horses this year.
Yeah. And it's funny as well. Racing is such a funny game, isn't it? I was carrying forward my feeling, wide of the mark as it goes, that the Gosdens have had a bit of a tricky old start to the year. Just the 6 Group 1s and 4 Group 2s now,
Yeah.
So it's nuts, isn't it? Really?
Incredible operation,
really
isn't it?
Good team.
Incredible operation. There's a long portion of the season still to go as well, isn't there? The likes of Appleby and Gosden are going to continue to dominate.
Yeah. Should we upgrade Al Hussein, the horse who beat Nashwa at Newcastle, as a unbeaten? I thought Newcastle was all about Nashwa flopping. Maybe he's a really, really good horse.
They did end up pulling miles clear of everything else. And she's had to go and get Nashwa.
Interesting what John Gosden said afterwards, that this filly needs racing. And
she's
that was the reason.
She's a big filly.
He didn't want to leave her off between the last run and the Nassau. Wanted to come somewhere in between just to keep her ticking over. So going to be quite aggressively campaigned, you'd think, for the rest of the year.
All right. So very quickly, Nashwa against Blue Rose Sen in the Nassau. Who wins, or is there something else you'd chuck in the mix for that race?
No, definitely Blue Rose Sen for me. I think like you alluded to, Sam, I think she's potentially the superstar female-wise of the year.
Yeah, and I'd be quite happy to see Nashwa in the QE2 at the back end of the year with a bit of cut in the ground, nice strong pace to help Holly settle. Yeah. And I think she'd be difficult to beat in the QE2.
11-8 favourite for the Nassau, Blue Rose Sen, 3-1 Nashwa. Move on, Bahrain Trophy, Castle Way, held off Tower of London. Ryan Moore did drop his stick there. The winner's 8-1 with Bet365 for the Ledger. The runner-up 13-2. How do you see it?
The race didn't do a lot for me, to be honest with you. I've been walked in here quite upbeat, Sam, really, but it didn't do a lot for me, really.
That's what the Bahrain Trophy would do to you. Who'd have thought that?
Well, yeah, I mean, presumably Ryan would have won had he not dropped his stick, but by how far and how impressive it would have been, I'm not so sure. Castleways, just a reasonably likeable 3-year-old for Charlie Appleby, who's had a rough year, and that was a nice result for him. But beyond that, I can't get wildly excited about it.
No, I thought he got a great tactical ride. They went absolute crawl early doors, which wouldn't have paid to Tower of London's strength. I think the Doncaster Straight will really suit him. Whether he'd be my pick in the ledger or not, I don't know. I'm still... Not yet. I saw White Birch's 20-1. I thought that was a fairly big price in the anti-post markets. Yeah. But I'm not sure about Castleway. I just thought he got a brilliantly clever ride from Buick, stalked at a very slow pace, kicked at exactly the right time. Ryan lost the whip, which I can't ever remember him ever doing before now. And that probably was the difference between victory and defeat.
Ledger betting at the moment, Gregory 3-1, King of Steel 4s, Tower of London 30-2, obviously Castleway 8s. I've actually had a bet in the Ledger. I backed Perfuse because he was huge prices in places. He's 33-1, but I don't know where he's going to run next. And what, I mean, he was only in a handicap, but things never worked out. Funny run race at that Royal Ascot meeting. You've got to be more excited about Just Saw in the July Stakes. I thought that was a smart effort.
Yeah, definitely. And really pleased for Clive Cox, one of the good guys, Clive. My immediate thought when he went past the line was, I wonder if this is the one to erase the painful memories for Clive of Supremacy, who had that amazing 2-year-old year just 3 years ago, and then completely didn't just lose his form, fell off a cliff in 3 runs at 3. That must have been such a crushing disappointment for them, bearing in mind how good a 2-year-old he was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe 3 years on, he's got one to really erase those memories. I hope so, because I mean, he looked really good. Did you feel the form stacked up, Sam?
Yeah, I thought Clive unleashed 1 or 2 really nice horses over the weekend. I thought Symbology looked a really good horse going forward. And of course, there's news broken, hasn't it, that him and sort of Adam Kirby are just a natural parting of the waves. Unfortunately, Adam's struggling with his weight. I mean, those are words we've used in the same sentence for a good while, haven't they? And it's amazing that Adam Kirby's been able to have the longevity and the quality of career that he has, given that, you know, obviously his natural mechanics aren't set up to be a race rider. So there's a bit of change there. Yeah. And Clive enjoyed a great week. I mean, he had winners everywhere, didn't he? You know, up at York and Doncaster and obviously Newmarket as well. Well,
mention of Adam Kirby leads us to Adayar, who, of course, whatever happens with Adam Kirby, he'll be remembered as a Derby winning rider. He was aboard Adayar when he won the Derby at Epsom. But it's fair to say that Adayar's performance in the Princess of Wales Stakes was underwhelming. Or am I being unkind to Isra, John?
No, I mean, Isra's a perfectly likeable horse, but yeah, I think underwhelming for Adayar sums it up well. I thought it was a sad run, really. I thought he looked under pressure. He looked way out of sorts. He looked disorganised. He looked uncomfortable. I was quite sad to see that finishing effort from Adayar. Really, nothing like the top class Adayar.
It's extraordinary. Hurricane Lane, Adayar, Yabir. At one point, sort of 18 months ago, you were thinking they could clean up everything. Yeah. I think was it the Jockey Club Stakes at Newmarket? It's really the only thing that they've won. So we had Hurricane Lane and Adayar. They just haven't really fired at all. I mean, Adayar ran all right last season in the Champion Stakes, but I
wonder whether they probably wouldn't ever contemplate a switcher stable, but perhaps switching them to Saeed just I'm not saying that they should do, but I just wonder, he does so well with older horses, not that Charlie Appleby doesn't, but they just look as though they're lacking that 1 or 2%, don't they? I mean, to be fair, the data's incredible though when you look at this race. This was team tactics gone wrong. Yeah. The way that they've blasted off. The closing sectional was 39.18. Me and Hunty could have gone quicker. Hunty could have gone quicker up the July course there.
I'll be pushing you both, obviously.
Well, you just look at the slowest one. The other one is Darkness, 35.95. So just short of 36 seconds. Israel's over 39 seconds. So from Darkness to Israel, that's a 12-length difference in the closing 3 furlongs. So, yeah, Israel was impressive, but he didn't half benefit from a race that set up well for him. Yes. It just collapsed. And I wonder whether Adayar has run quite as badly as people have felt, obviously he's 2 to 5, 1 to 3, whatever, and everyone feels he should be just walking home in that. But chasing that pace from Global Storm has probably put paid to him a bit, and that's why he had nothing in the tank.
I thought the performance at Ascot and this now suggests that all is not well. But yeah, I mean,
I'd give him a long break. I mean, not for me to tell Charlie Appleby how to train, but have a long break and then perhaps come back for a winter race.
That is intriguing. That's another intrigue. Like your Justify City of Troy thing. That's another intriguing thing, because obviously Saeed's entire MO originally was one of older horses. Maybe Charlie Appleby be a feeder for Saeed bin Suroor. That's the future for Godolphin.
I mean, it would take a fair bit of thinking outside the box. It's not something they normally do, but Saeed's having a really good season again. You know, playing the second string. You know, I've got a lot of admiration for it. He doesn't look any younger. They interviewed him after Live Your Dream, and he's like Benjamin Button. He just looks the same, like you, Rishi, obviously. Handsome, good looks. But he's been around a long time, hasn't he? Saeed.
Five-time champion trainer.
Yeah,
Saeed
exactly. You know, he knows the game.
Yeah, it was about his first classic winner was at Moonshell. It was 94.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it's nearly
best
30,
part of 3 decades that he's been training at the top level.
Okay, let's talk about the Grand Prix de Paris, because it's possible we've seen a star in that race. Were you as taken as seemingly quite a lot of people about the way that Feed the Flame got out of trouble, quickened past everyone?
Yeah, obviously all eyes were on Soul Sister there for John Gosden, and you know, it didn't work out particularly well for her. I don't think she got the rub of the green necessarily, the way the race unfolded, but Feed the Flame was ridiculously impressive, wasn't it? Storming down the outside there. Really good. I mean, and it's looking like, early days yet, isn't it? But it's looking like the French Derby is looking that little bit stronger than the Epsom equivalent. I mean, and Roger Varian will be throwing punches at the screen now with his lovely horse who finished second in the Derby. But really exciting times for French middle distance racing, isn't it? You know, they're often underestimated, but they look very, very strong in the 3-year-old department this year.
Well, Auguste Rodin still 5-1 favourite for the Arc at the moment, bet 365. Ace Impact 11-2, Emily Upjohn 8s, Blue Rose Sen 10s, Westover, Huckham 14s, along with Feed the Flame is also.
Big price, isn't it? 3 from 3 at Longchamp. Did what a lot of horses really struggled to do at Longchamp fast ground, come from a long way back against 2 quality horses. I mean, fair play to Adelaide River, you know, carried out in the Shield again, not long after a tough race. Well, some would say race course gallop with the Curragh. And Soul Sister ran well with Kieran on, so that was a fair enough effort. But this lad showed great turn of foot and pace, and handsome compliment to Ace Impact, who beat him 6 lengths in the French Derby.
Yeah, that's the one, isn't it? Ace Impact. That's the one.
He looks the one that
very good.
Really.
So, if you were to have a play in the Arc now, what would you consider?
I would back Ace Impact.
Would you?
Yeah, right now.
All right, 11-2.
Boring.
I'd be happy backing him at 14 with a decent draw. That lad, he's got acceleration. He loves the track, which I think is important. He goes on soft ground. He's only had 4 runs. Of course, his trainer's never won the Arc.
Indeed. Adayar's 50-1 for the Arc. Hurricane Lane 33s.
Yeah, I'll leave those ones. You can mop those prices up, Rishi, if you like.
No, Desert Crown's 20s for the Arc. No,
latest. Have we seen the latest line on Desert Crown?
No. Well, hopefully next week, when you join us for Racing Weekly, we will hopefully have some positive news about whether or not Desert Crown might be taking his chance in the King George, which would be exciting. Were he to line up against Auguste Rodin, King of Steel, and whoever else wants the pile driver. It'll be a good race.
Could
be a very good race. Lots of other interesting stories over the past week or so. Biggles won the Bunbury Cup. He's 8-1 favourite for the Moet and Chandon International Handicap. I mean, it's actually really impressive. He hit the line very hard.
He did, yeah. With the handicappers, I mean, look, Sam eats, drinks and lives these handicaps all the time, doesn't he? But you were cheering on Chubby with the rest of the Margusson team there.
Ropey Guest, God bless you. I think got a beautiful ride from Sean Levy. I think he's seen the front a bit too early a couple of times this season, but I thought he was brilliant on him on Saturday. But yeah, I mean, if you watch Ryan's body language, he never once picked the whip up on Biggles and angled for a run just at a crucial time. He could have gone one way and he went the other, and he just muscled his way through on a horse that was travelling well. Hands and heels from that point, and he just took off, hasn't he, the horse? And Rafe Beckett, friend of the show, was saying that maybe that international might come a little bit quick for him, but he wouldn't be scared to drop him back to 6, he said, as well. So all options are open, and it's good to see the horse. I know we did a piece with Rafe early on in the year, Steve and myself, and he just said he's been a bit immature and needs to grow up really. And it wasn't surprised to see a race like that fall for him, but it was a really good performance, and old Ropey Guest and Bless Him carried out on the shields again, weren't they? Brilliant run.
Bless Him came through to pick it up. I thought he was going on to win, but
off script, Rishi, I know, but just talking about Rafe Beckett reminded me that I saw a really nice horse. She didn't win the first race at Newmarket. Her name was Bernice in the first race there, and I really was quite taken with her. Probably over raced a little bit and finished quite tired, but I thought showed plenty of promise for the future. So
off script is
good. Little notebook.
Do you have a notebook?
I do have a little notebook.
Do you?
So,
And
it's a phone.
Rafe wouldn't be getting them razzed up first time, would he? The 2-year-olds.
I liked her a lot.
Okay, well, good to have that. There are a list of other horses that we could include. I'm going to go to each one of you. So there was Nymphadora, who won at York, Pride of America, a really, really strong performance to just fend off all comers.
Yeah.
I imagine that's how you'd have. He's fended off all comers in a brilliant crescendo of the commentary. That's how I expect you would have done it.
Repelled all raiders.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. For Amy Murphy, I thought that was a lovely result this weekend. She's such a good trainer. Such a good trainer.
She can afford a pair of shoes now as well.
And I know, as a television man, Rishi, as well, I'm sure you like this because, when you get the reaction from people like you do, the camera on connections to see winners can sometimes be so joyful, can't it? We saw it with Jassur's owner, didn't we?
Indeed, it's brilliant, wasn't it?
Doing that
good moves, isn't he?
Excellent moves. I'm a bit jealous.
Like the suit? I'm not sure about
it. Wouldn't be my choice.
But you wore suit and trainers at Wimbledon. I know it is. I can't get on board.
That's what the umpires wear. I
can't get on board with that project though, to be honest.
Because I wore heels when I did one presentation.
Right. Heels?
Oh yeah, you can't go on the court in heels, can you?
Brown shoes, my brogues type things, and I stood in one place on centre court for about 4 minutes to do an intro and a presentation, and when I came off, I'd left an imprint. And just to avoid.
Was it $29.99 from Clark's? Was that the imprint? Was it?
So trainers,
I didn't think of that. Yeah, of course.
Comfy soles, flat soles. After that, there was
you get a pass then. Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
But Amy Murphy's celebration.
Amy Murphy was brilliant.
Absolutely top. She went nuts, and I love that sort of thing.
Well, how well they do with their 2-year-olds out in France. Really super, winning a summer plate at Market Raise, and this lad winning a valuable handicap. I mean, brilliant.
She had Breeders' Cup runners and everything.
Superb, isn't it?
Some other ones. Hamish. Just getting up to win the Silver Cup again. Master of the Seas in the Summer Mile. Persian Dreamer won the Duchess of Cambridge. I thought good team tactics in that race. Swing Along won the Summer Stakes at York, just holding on from Royal Acclaim. You mentioned Ramatuelle, who is also by Justify, who won on the weekend. What about Quinault? I mean, I backed the runner-up, actually, funny enough, so I was gutted. Millstream. But also, hats off to Quinault. I mean, that is incredible.
And Stuart Williams. And Tom Morley, the owner, sorry.
Stuart's handicappers at Newmarket, I think, are always worth a close eye. But that's, you just don't get horses notching up sequences like that.
Not
anymore.
No. So, was he starting something in the mid to late 50s,
Ridiculous.
did he? Yeah, incredible, really. Should also give a good mention, Kevin Stott. Near enough 2001 four-timer as well. Superb. As you touched on there, those ammo racing tactics. Where Persian Dreamer won, I thought that was very clever, very cute. And
And going back to Ross Ryan as well after Shaquille, he was asked about his relationship with ammo, and he underlined the fact once again he's still very much part of that team. Which he was obviously at pains to make that point to the press, and he was just full of praise for Kia Jim and all involved with ammo, and that it's very much a team effort, and he's still very much part of it as well. Got him the ride at Ascot on a 150 to 1 winner, didn't it?
Gave them the first Royal Ascot winner. Is it possible I could just mention one more horse from last week, because I think he produced one of the most exciting performances, arguably a few months too late for anyone who backed him to win the 2,000 guineas, but Nostrum I thought was he was a standout performance of the week for me. He is 4-1, third favourite, joint second favourite for the Sussex Stakes.
Yeah, he's got to go there, hasn't he? I mean,
I would hope so.
Lydia Hislop pushed Stout
She did very well.
in her usual way,
Yeah.
and Stout straight battered it in his usual way as well.
He didn't do too many, but he did a few.
I like it when you catch Stout and he turns his back on you, as
Yeah.
if to say that's the
That's
end of
it,
the
yeah.
you know, so
Yeah. 3
he didn't do
questions.
that in fairness, but Lydia did a great job with him.
Yeah.
He's got to run back at Group 1 level and
Yes.
soon. That looked a top level performance, did it?
Yeah.
Did the time
The
bear it out?
data certainly said as such. The overall time was excellent. He was quicker than Quinault as well. You know, really strongly run, top class handicap over 6, and he's quicker than that, and he's only marginally slower than Jassur as well over 6. So, yeah, the times backed it up, and he beat nice horse, didn't he? Ernesto looks a promising horse going forward, and he thumped that.
It would have been brilliant would someone had interviewed Ryan and said, "So Ryan, Paddington against Nostrum in the Sussex. Where do you go?"
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
But you
Ryan,
were at Wimbledon, so you wouldn't be able to
I wouldn't
ask him that.
I'd be too scared of asking that of Ryan. But that's a possibility. Paddington, Inspiral, Nostrum.
You'd make Paddington strong favourite though.
Yeah.
He's 8-15 with Bet365 Paddington.
Yeah.
4-1 Inspiral, 4-1 Nostrum. Modern Games 6-1. Who would you support? Paddington?
Yeah, I wouldn't back him, but
No.
most likely win. I would have
He's
thought.
just been incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
we've talked about him quite a lot on this show, as you had to, because
Yeah.
of the narrative of the season. But when he started, he was knocking out very average speed figures, and then they've just gone
Yeah.
since. You know, the Eclipse win was astonishing figure. He even bettered a really, really strong figure at Royal Ascot.
Okay. So if I asked you, you were going to go with Bernice as one from the last week that you think is a future winner.
I think she will definitely win.
Okay.
Hopefully, nice races. Yeah, I think she's a surefire, future flyer.
Yes, from the friar to the friar. One from last week. That
You'll
you
love
think-
this one.
Nostrum?
No, Said bin Sahel, Sahid Sahel, Sir Michael Stout.
Oh, the 2-year-old? that
Point
got-
given at Doncaster.
Yeah.
Well, I got a lovely
That
introduction
was
from Richard
beautiful.
Kingscote.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
He could possibly have won. Things
Yeah,
panned out.
yeah.
I thought he could have won, but I like the introduction.
It was a super run.
It was a very nice 2-year-old.
It's him doing 18-hour days at Wimbledon and sees this Doncaster
Oh,
race.
honestly,
I missed this one.
It's Sir
completely.
Michael Stout, that's why.
It's true though.
Stat Group
It's
B.
true. You look through the entry. You know what? You're both like me.
Yeah.
You know there's certain people that you follow and you know their patterns, and so you went on to see. So when I saw that point giving, because he got, was he 300 or 280 grand or whatever?
Yeah,
Side
wasn't
to
cheap.
Hell, Son of Blue Point, and I thought, this would be interesting. Stout 2-year-old send up to Doncaster. I wanted to see it. And then you just watched the ride that he was given. He got in behind horses. He got bumped around a little bit messy, but Richard Kingscote made sure to just get him settled and relaxed, as opposed to fighting him to get up there. And then he eventually pulled him out, and it was a gradual. But by the end of the race, he was really finishing off quite
Yeah,
nicely.
yeah.
And he just-
Lovely horse.
Yeah.
Must have clashed with the race I was at Newton Abbott.
Yeah.
So who's he by? Who's he?
Blue Point.
He's Blue
He's
Point.
a Blue Point.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
a sensational start he's had as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. And was he well back to take it?
No, 8-1.
8?
Yeah, so
Oh,
that
yeah.
tells a story, doesn't it, really?
Yeah. So, okay, that's the one. I'm
Yeah.
going to endorse that.
Point
But
given.
I cannot wait for when Nostrum meets Paddington et al. In the Sussex Stakes.
Okay.
That might be something else.
Nice little point given, nice little bit of a nod to your Wimbledon fortnight.
Oh, I thought you were going to mention about the American superstar point given, but yes.
Well, yes, there's that as well, but
Yeah.
we're
15 love to you. Okay, that has been this week's Racing Recap. Right, before we get into our weekend preview, just to let you know that our sponsor, Bet365, have an ITV Racing price promise. They'll not be beaten on price of any horse for all UK and Irish races shown live on ITV Racing. Full T's and C's can be found on the website. And now we will look ahead briefly, in fairness, to what's to come this week. And it's relatively light in terms of what we...
Well, not in volume, there's 8 meetings
Well,
this Saturday, so...
Quality.
Yes, yeah.
But this has been the long-term argument for many of us.
Well, especially when you look back at last Saturday, where you had, York,
Yes.
Newmarket,
Yeah.
Chester, Ascot, star races being held all on the same day, unfortunately. But
Wait till premierisation comes into full effect. That will see to that. Okay, amongst the races that you could potentially talk about, Irish Oaks, there's the Super Sprint at Newbury. Is there anything that appeals to either of you for...
Well, with that super sprint, which I think is a really nice race, a nice concept, you know, with basically the horses that were a little bit cheaper in the market, a chance to win a big pot. We all know the story, but I just think there's that Relief Rally who so nearly won at Royal Ascot for William Haggas. She's in there, you know, she's obviously going to be the key form horse in that race, and just a question as to how short she actually goes off, you know. So if she's like a 6-4 chance, probably not. But if the bookmakers price up and she's a 3's chance, 7-2, she'd take a lot of beat.
Yeah, she looks at
Relief Rally in the super sprint.
Yeah, I didn't sort of look at. I mean, the Curragh Cup is dominated by Aidan O'Brien. He's got half the entries. He's won it 7 times, and the Oaks looks like Save the Last Dance. He's got a great opportunity. So I just looked at the Sapphire Stakes. I saw Ladies Church was in that, won that last year. Could be an interesting one. She bounced back to form with a really authoritative performance last time. And the old favourite of mine, really, Big Gossie, who runs in the Scurry. He's 22 times he's run at the Curragh. Honestly, he's been there more times than most of the spectators. He finished 4th in the Rockingham. He was stuck out on the wing under she, and I think back over 6. If he gets a fairly decent draw, I'd be interested in him. Charles Burns, he's one that. Well, we see what he's capable of. Unlike a lot of Charles Burns horses until the money's down. But we know where we are with him. He's a Curragh specialist, and hopefully he'll run well in the Scurry.
I know it's a busy weekend, the one we reflected on already. It didn't feel like it was too pressurised with watching on at Newmarket. Maybe that was because of the quality of the racing was really good. Maybe we'll feel it a little bit more, that it's a little bit too much this coming weekend, maybe with lesser quality racing.
I must admit that silly Saturday, as they've called it before now, has felt more, like you say, more claustrophobic than it did this weekend. I felt that you could still enjoy the races as maybe they've changed the time slots subtly or whatever. But I remember when it sort of first came in, when the July Cup first got shifted back to the Saturday, it just felt crikey. Every 10 minutes there's a world-class race we're seeing here. Maybe because, I don't know, Ascot didn't perhaps get the prominence that it perhaps should have done, even though it had a group race there on the card.
And maybe it's all down to the way your afternoon unfolds. Whether you're watching, I was at Newmarket, they were very good at showing the away racing, so you didn't feel like you were being deprived, you didn't feel like you were missing out. That's
one of my main criticisms of racecourses, that you can't see races happening at the other tracks unless you try and find a betting shop somewhere, or they really should be onto that. We should be showcasing everything.
Totally agree.
Even if it's on a different channel.
I also think we're worthy of racecourses to point out to people, whether it's on the PA or whatever, that coming up very shortly we have our whatever race, but just before that, let you know it coming up at York. If you're at Newmarket, the Magnet Cup's coming up at York. You can watch it on the big screens around the racecourse, just to keep the people at the races part of the whole overall scene of the day.
Well, they can't normally get off the PA, can they? A lot of racecourses, it's just constant noise, isn't it? And sometimes that's very good, depending on who's doing the presenting, and sometimes perhaps not so good, given the volume of everything. So I think that's a really good. You can. Because if you're having a drink and you're going socially to the racing, there's nothing more annoying than, they've just jumped off the 3:15 at York, I really fancied such and such, and you missed it. But as if somebody is actually talking you through that and telling you that. I know it's not an easy task, but it could be done subtly.
And I like the race courses who bother to insert away races within the race card as well, to make it part of the day.
Agreed. It's not
a simple thing, isn't it?
Exactly. It's not a lot of complicated steps needed, just simple things.
Well, if you're on the centre court,
there we go.
They're not just going to show you, what's happening on the centre court, are they? In your programme,
It's the only one I'm interested in.
Well, no,
I'm checking.
Big man, big man.
Right. I think that's it for all we're looking back and ahead to. But you were saying, John, you have got the World Swimming Championships coming up in 8 days' time?
Yeah, starts this weekend, coming up, going to be really, really good. Look, I know swimming is not everybody's sport by any means, but if you like elite sport, there's great names to watch out for. There's a Romanian called David Popovici, who looks as though he's immense. He'll be going up against our Olympic champion Tom Dean in the men's 200 metre event. That will be fantastic. And the female side of the sport as well, there's this Canadian girl called Summer McIntosh. She's 16. She's rewriting all the record books, and she'll go up against the great American Katie Ledecky as well, which will be another fantastic highlight.
thank you very much, Sam. John, thank you very much. Sam, enjoy your week off.
Thank you very much.
John, it's been a real pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, I know that you probably expect us to be kind to you, but you're one of the greats of the game.
Well, that's very kind. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have a great of the game on board.
I'll bring my Speedos next time.
And he's just ruined it, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's ruined it.
I was about to say Racing's game was the Mets loss,
I
but
cannot get rid of that. Can you?
well,
Is it possible
like
to
£2
rewind
of a month
this
in a
and do
pound
that
bag,
bit
wouldn't
again?
it? Eh?
He's even blushing now because it's so bad. Well,
Douse yourself, ladies.
What a
Douse
note
yourself
to
down.
end this week's episode of Racing Weekly, brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. Thank you very much to Sam and to John Hunt, especially for that endearing, searing image burnt into my brain, for joining us on the show this week. As always, if you like what you've heard or watched in any of our previous episodes, or indeed this one, then please leave us a kind review on Apple Podcasts or in the comments section on YouTube. Now, next week we'll be back. Sam's away, but Steve Ryder is back in Sam's chair, and Ken Pitterson will be in between the two of us as we look ahead to the King George at Ascot. But for now, from all of us here and the Racing Weekly team, bye-bye.